He's a retired CIA and national security expert. He's joining us this morning. Also with us, foreign policy expert Harley Lippman. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Harley, let's start with you on this breaking news. Jody reporting that this deal or potential talks to remove Hezbollah from southern Lebanon, that appears to be rejected by Hezbollah. No real surprise on that they would, put down arms and walk away. But this continues to be a sticking point to any roadmap for peace with Iran. The president was in the Oval yesterday and he said this element needs to be teased out. But that attempt this morning appears to be failing.
Yeah, this is extremely difficult. Hezbollah doesn't want to defeat themselves by disarming. The only way they're going to be disarmed is through disarmament by Israel in cooperation with the Lebanese army. But what I think is really noteworthy in your report is the fact that Israel has no grievance with the people of Lebanon. The people of Lebanon are being strangled by a foreign entity, a colonial entity of Iran that has taken control of Lebanon and leaves the Lebanese people in poverty and in insecurity and fear. And, the analogy I'll give, just to give Americans a sense of what it's like to live in northern Israel, it would be the equivalent of terrorists firing missiles from Mexico into Texas. And after Texas receives 6,000 rockets, I would think Texans would want to make sure one way or another that their homes are safe, that they don't have to leave their homes, and they don't have to see their friends being killed. This is what Israel is facing with Hezbollah and Lebanon.
Yeah, it's a known fact that Hezbollah is an arm, a proxy of, the Iranian regime. Scott, this is tough, though, because as much as the Lebanese people are victims, the government and the Lebanese army is just intertwined with Hezbollah. It's very difficult to tease this out.
That's right. Hezbollah has been in Israel now for probably about 40 years, since the late 1980s. And so they are involved. Unfortunately, they've penetrated every aspect of Lebanese society. And the Lebanese army is number 2 in the country. Hezbollah is by far the more powerful entity. So any agreement that has been concluded, the devil is in the details, because the actual disarmament of Hezbollah is the difficult part. And since they were not included in this agreement, they are defiant, and it's clear that they don't intend to go quietly.
Meanwhile, there's this report out of the Wall Street Journal this morning, the president telling top aides that he is not going to break the ceasefire with Iran or resume, full-scale military operations, which a lot of people are calling for, unless American troops are targeted. Scott, let's continue with you. Iran is suggesting that it will be targeting American troops, and it's attempting to, by what we saw yesterday with those, missiles launched into Kuwait and Bahrain.
That's right. As every day goes by, I think the Trump administration is getting more backed into a corner. In fact, stating that this is like the red line of U.S. policy. The Iranian mullahs will find this almost a point they can't resist. They will come right up to the red line, perhaps even killing an American, and then President Trump will be forced to take action. And if he doesn't, then there is no hope for peace, because he'll be seen as being absolutely weak by the evil mullahs, unfortunately.
Yeah. Harley, as you look on at the images of those attacks on Kuwait yesterday, it really is heart-stopping. We know that there were dozens injured. One individual lost his life in the attack on the Kuwaiti airport. Harley, the president is saying that it suggested in the last 48 hours that he would be willing to meet with the Ayatollah. Is that helpful, do you think, or is this another diplomatic channel that really, feeds into the confusion that the Iranians really like to muster up?
Well, there's 2 aspects to this. The optimistic one is that President Trump thinks out of the box. Remember, he met with the leader of North Korea in an attempt to get them to give up their nuclear weapons. So he has said he'll meet with anyone, anywhere. He wants to break conventional wisdom that you don't meet with your enemy in situations like that. But President Trump is an innovative guy. That's the good news. The bad news is that it could appear that President Trump is desperate. And remember, and I think this is what Americans really have to understand, and it's sad that they don't seem to really grasp it, that more than any country in the history of America, Iran wants to destroy America. That's their whole reason for existing. So it's my sincere hope that President Trump really does not kick the can down the road as his predecessors have and pass it on to the next administration. He's as your guest pointed out, he is being backed in a corner. I actually feel very sorry for him because he's got pressure about the midterm elections. Americans are complaining about the price of gas, but the price of gas is a small price to pay if your children and grandchildren are going to be safe. Remember that Iran was building ICBMs for the sole purpose of reaching the United States, and the ICBM was equipped for only one thing: to carry a nuclear warhead. I don't think Americans really fully grasp how much of a dangerous enemy we're dealing with.
Nor the reach, their capability. They've certainly demonstrated that, their reach, capability, and their intentions. It would be a travesty to leave this on the plate of our children and our children's children. The president was asked about this, the barrage of missile attacks that we saw as we woke up yesterday morning, and you know, where we stood on a peace deal, how confident he is. Listen to the president here.
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President.
It could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, you know, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend.
So meanwhile, Scott, the House votes last night, you know, several Republican congressmen crossed party lines and voted to limit the president's ability to continue strikes in Iran if he chooses to do so. Very, you know, the likelihood of this getting traction and moving through the Senate, very unlikely. But just the same, to our men and women who are serving our nation and really protecting the world, what message does that send our soldiers when there's political division at home?
Well, certainly that is not a good thing. As a 28-year Navy veteran, I can sympathize with this. The good news is that the men and women of the armed forces are very busy doing their work 24/7 and are not paying close attention to that sort of thing. They've got a lot of responsibilities on shipboard and at bases. But I think President Trump's discussion about the agreement, while it sounds strange, we have to understand that we don't have information he has access to. And I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to balance the fact that there is a schism going on within Iran. There is an element of the government that wishes to discuss with the United States. And there is a larger part, the IRGC, which is defiant and is defying perhaps its own government by launching some of these attacks. And so that is one reason why I think Trump has been so patient with this negotiation, because he understands there are currents within the Iranian government that we are not privy to.
Before I let you go, I want to bring up this shocking allegation. As we went to bed last night, Department of Justice arresting the CEO of this tech company. He's accused of funneling this technology and encryption equipment into Iran's, right into Iran for decades. This went on to its nuclear teams, its military, from an intelligence perspective. Scott, Harley, let's get you both for a quick 10-15 on this. Scott, you first.
Well, there are almost 1 million Iranian Americans in country, and we're not even talking about how many agents of Iran came in under the Biden administration through the southern border. But Iranian espionage has always been very good in the past 40 years, and particularly their expertise is technology procurement, because they know that they're behind and they're constantly seeking to update and improve their systems. So this is not a surprise, unfortunately.
Harley, this went on right under our nose.
Right. Well, this, along with what you mentioned with the vote, shows how determined our enemies are. They're using the left to try to bail them out, to try to embarrass President Trump and weaken him and get him to show lack of resolve. And we have Russia, China, and Iran and Cuban agents that have infiltrated a lot of American military establishment and business, and that want to do America harm.
Harley Lippman, Scott Ehrlinger, gentlemen, thanks so much for dialing in. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Lawmakers, they